Hello, and thank you for joining us on TVC News at 1. I'm Olamide Adeyemi. Well, we begin here in Lagos State, where another batch of Nigerian returnees from South Africa have arrived at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport. The second batch of repatriation, comprising 66 returnees, was facilitated by the chairman CEO of ValueJet, Kunle Shoname. The returnees were accompanied by officials from the Nigerian Embassy, High Commission in South Africa. Speaking on behalf of NIDCOM, the chairman, CEO Dipo Nobowale, commended the president for his citizen-centered leadership in facilitating the safe return. He explained that logistical challenges encountered after the first evacuation are being addressed proactively by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Bianca Odumegu Ojukwu, who has now assured that all registered Nigerians will be evacuated. The first batch of 258 returnees arrived on the 11th of June via a chartered Air Peace flight. Now let's have this conversation with public affairs analyst Chukwuma Okenwa. Thank you for joining us on the news at 1.
Yeah, thank you.
And now we see another batch of Nigerians have returned from South Africa. How would you assess the federal government's response to this? What does this really say about the handling of the evacuation process so far?
It's commendable, even though at the moment we would expect more, considering the volumes, the numbers of Nigerians who've indicated interest to be part of the program. And of course, the deadline is by the corner, but notwithstanding, it's commendable. And I do hope that government and citizens can also step up effort before the 30th. And by citizens, what I mean is those of them in South Africa, they mustn't wait till when the government comes. I mean, it's a matter of life and death, right? They can also take the initiative, buy flight tickets for them, take themselves and their families there, before the deadline that was issued. Since from the body language of the South African government, beyond the speeches, we've not really seen any template that reassures other citizens of Africa staying in South Africa that their safety is assured.
We want to believe that, individual governments are now taking charge of this situation. But considering the reaction by the government saying that the past issues with logistics have now been addressed, there are expectations as to how fast, this process will be. But beyond evacuation and this, immediate relief packages that we are seeing, what would be the concrete reintegration measures that should be put in place to help these people rebuild their lives and, contribute to the economy now that they're back?
So I'm going to speak to two issues as regards to this. First would be that Nigerian government must demystify the mysteries that surround us, because we didn't see South Africa immigrations charged with the responsibility, actually deciding who is undocumented and who is not documented. So what's the assurance that this whole thing is not targeted to just any other person from any African country, whether you are documented or not? Because the way what we literally saw is a mob action. There's no any way they can actually know who. So Nigerian government must first investigate, find out those Nigerians that were targeted, were they all undocumented, which is another issue. But beyond that, helping them to rebuild their life, families have to help. Communities, most importantly, state governments, the same way the federal government, has been able to send officials from NICDOM, from MFA, states also should be able to get involved. The federal government must be able to profile individuals that are involved, right? Reach out with the respective states and see how, they can safely integrate into one sector, especially those of them who've been playing in formal sector, contributing to building of the South African economy.
I mean, this is not the first time this is happening. And as always, we see evacuation effort. How should Nigeria really focus on, securing stronger diplomatic guarantees for the safety and rights of its citizens in South Africa, beyond what we are seeing at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, because I think that the challenge actually has been that beyond, the diplomatic conversations of, oh, we are going to handle this, or we don't have approval of this, we are going to rebuild. Beyond all of that, I think that if this time around, Nigerian government can actually show that such kind of things, which is a diplomatic spark, own partnering nations like Nigeria is actually undermining that relationship. If we can make it a such that there are consequences, right? Consequences in the sense that when you see like your citizens being denigrated, being insulted, first and foremost, beyond summoning the ambassadors, we want to see like some kind of diplomatic actions that is going to send a signal to South Africa that you are not going to just do anything and walk away with that. I think that South Africa have not been able to see any might from the Nigeria government to be able to deter it from subsequent, because what we just see is like the body language of a government, which says one thing, but in the other way, it seems like some of them are really satisfied because when the government also was making speech, it says yes. As for illegal migration, we are not going to let that happen, this. But beyond that, I mean, this actually wouldn't be the time to be having that conversation.
We look forward to the next batch of evacuations. I mean, there are still conversations about, the United Kingdom and the United States also working around its, immigration rules and how this will really affect African countries, Nigeria especially. But thank you for talking to us at this time. Public Affairs Analyst Chukwuma Okenwa.
Welcome.